Hi, it's Katrina! From sightings of a prehistoric monster to mysterious sounds from the deep, here are 10 of the strangest creatures found in the Mariana Trench. Number 10. Deep-sea hatchet fish. The Mariana Trench is the deepest underwater place there is, reaching 36,200 feet. It is dark and mysterious, home to all kinds of strange creatures and perhaps even monsters. The deep-sea hatchet fish is not only one of the strangest creatures found in the Mariana Trench, it is also one of the most bizarre animals anywhere on the planet. It has evolved to live in the darkest depths of the sea, and it has specialized organs that emit light to conceal the fish's shadow from potential predators. But perhaps the most striking and horrifying feature of the deep-sea hatchetfish is its huge eyes, which look as though it's screaming in eternal agony. In fact, the fish looks like some kind of tortured soul that got flushed down the toilet. The hatchetfish lives in one of the most inhospitable environments on our planet. Deep in the Mariana Trench, it's a fish-eat-fish world in the dark. Luckily, the hatchetfish is well adapted for survival. Because the trench is so black, the faintest silhouette or glint of light can give up a creature's location to a potential predator. The hatchetfish has found a way around this by growing into a slender shape, much like a hatchet blade. It has reflective scales and light-emitting organs to make itself virtually invisible. The hatchetfish can cast a glow from its underside which perfectly matches with the darkness around it, making it unseeable to the vicious predators lurking even deeper in the depths. This kind of self-defense mechanism is known as bioluminescent counter-illumination. It's one of the best forms of camouflage for ocean creatures. It even helps the hatchetfish when it swims into shallower waters in the brighter environment to feed, because from below, the hatchetfish is so thin it can barely be seen, and its bioluminescence completely erases its shadow. Number 9. The Frilled Shark. Out of all the monsters living throughout the Mariana Trench, the frilled shark is perhaps the most shocking. It is a bizarre fish that looks like a prehistoric dinosaur. It lives throughout much of the open ocean, including in the deepest and darkest waters in various trenches across the globe, just like the Mariana Trench. The shark can reach up to 7 feet in length, and it gets its name because of its strange gills that look like frills around its face. The gills go all the way across its throat, and each is lined with a red fringe, making them very pronounced, which really adds to its monster-like appearance. The frilled shark is an active predator that spends all its time swimming through the ocean like an eel, twisting its body in a serpentine fashion while it hunts for unsuspecting prey. It also has a terrifying mouth, lined with 25 rows of gnarly teeth that total to about 300 in all. They are in the shape of a trident facing backwards, so whatever it grasps has no way of escaping except down its throat. Biologist David A. Ebert, director of the Pacific Shark Research Center, says that even looking at a dead specimen's mouth can hurt. I can tell you from snagging my fingers on the teeth, you can only back out one way, and that's in toward the mouth and then out, he told Wired. It didn't feel good, I can tell you that. Besides all of its teeth, it also has hard spines lining its mouth, which help it to crush squid and fish, and it's even been caught munching on other kinds of shark. Not a whole lot else is known about the ecology of the frilled shark. Encounters in the wild are exceptionally rare. They live so deep and in so many remote corners of the ocean and the Mariana Trench that the only time they're usually seen is when one gets accidentally caught in a fisherman's net. The first time one was spotted in its natural habitat was 2004. Number 8. Deep Sea Amphipod. A newly discovered creature has taken the scientific world by storm. It's not a very big creature, only about 2 inches in length, but it is absolutely fascinating. It looks kind of like a shrimp and was captured at a depth of 20,000 feet inside the Mariana Trench. This is deeper than most animals in the trench live, though still far from its ultimate depth of 36,000 feet. What is this strange animal? It's a type of amphipod, which scientists have called Eurythenes plasticus. You may have picked up the last part of its name, plasticus. It sounds a lot like plastic, right? This is because the creature was named after polyethylene terephthalate, which you might recognize as PET. This is a common type of plastic resin used in the fibers for many different types of clothing, bottles, and packages for food. But why would they name a newly discovered creature after plastic? The answer is because PET, or PET, was found inside of this animal's guts. Even 20,000 feet deep in the Mariana Trench, inside of an animal only 2 inches long and only just discovered by scientists, plastic has pervaded. How is this possible? According to Forbes, over 100 million tons of this resin is produced every year, and a lot of it ends up in rivers, where it gets transported out to the sea, and the perpetual motion of the ocean breaks down the plastic into microplastics, which get distributed all over the world. They have been found even at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, where they end up in this new little amphipod tummy. Number 7. Mud monsters. A recent underwater expedition to the deepest part of the ocean filmed the first ever footage of a horde of bizarre sea creatures feeding at a depth of around 15,800 feet. Also called little mud monsters, some of these were pretty ordinary shrimp, which just so happened to live at record-breaking depths. But shrimp weren't the only monsters the research team filmed. They also witnessed sponges, lizardfish that were pure white like ghosts, and an unidentified breed of hermit crab. This was a rare glimpse into the deep-sea world that is the Mariana Trench. The shrimp and its other mud monster friends were spotted thanks to a vessel called the Deep Discoverer, a type of remotely operated vehicle deployed during an expedition led by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They descended down to what may have been a type of mud volcano, where the seafloor is coated with thick sediment. The curious shrimp were just about 5 inches long and were witnessed standing on their back feet with their 6 front legs spread open to catch tiny creatures and particles flowing in the current like an undersea net. Its legs have tiny hairs on them that likely catch incoming particles of food for the shrimp to gobble up. Life down here is a whole other world. Number 6. The telescope octopus. One of the most elusive and least talked about octopus in the world lives between 500 and 6,500 feet deep in the ocean and has been known to hang out in the Mariana Trench. It's called the telescope octopus, a small creature only 8 inches long with its arms accounting for at least half of its length. Scientists believe the telescope octopus is related to the glass octopus, another species of deep-sea cephalopod. But the telescope octopus is unique even among its peers. The reason the telescope octopus got its name is because of its elongated tubular eyes that look like telescope eyes. Each eye is on an elongated stalk that can move around, giving the octopus a rotating telescopic view of its world. This is incredibly rare in any species, making the telescope octopus a one-of-a-kind deep-sea monster. Unlike most octopuses that hover above the sea floor and scoop up whatever food they can find, the telescope octopus drifts along with deep ocean currents. It spends a large majority of its time suspended in water columns instead of crawling around on the floor. This gives the octopus a perpetual state of motion which protects it from predators. And because it lives so deep and often cruises through the Mariana Trench, there aren't that many predators to ward off anyway. Number 5. The Mariana Trench monster. Speaking of monsters, there could be a true beast lurking somewhere in the depths of the Mariana Trench. There was a noise recorded by autonomous seafaring robots designed to eavesdrop on whales. Scientists recorded a noise from another world that they have dubbed the Western Pacific biotwang. The call includes sounds that range from between 38 Hz and 8,000 Hz, which is an extremely wide range and very distinct. Researcher Sharon Newkirk from Oregon State University says that the low frequency is typical of baleen whales, but that this one is quite different. Perhaps it is a minke whale. The twangy call lasts up to 3.5 seconds and was recorded in the fall and the spring of 2014 and 2015. The research team admits that we don't know much about minke whale distributions. We don't know much about them at all. They spend very little time at the surface and have an inconspicuous blow, making them very hard to spot. While scientists couldn't pinpoint the precise origin of the sound, they did say it came from the Pacific Ocean in the area around the Mariana Trench, suggesting some kind of great creature made the noise from deep down inside, and it traveled all the way to where it was picked up by the robots. While nobody has any clue what kind of animal could produce such an incredible vocal explosion other than a whale, some say it could have been an unidentified creature of biblical proportions, hiding at the bottom of the trench, maybe even the great Cthulhu waking from its slumber. After all, there are giant squids and strange sharks living down there as well. Why not a monster we have yet to identify? Number 4. Ghost fish. On a recent research mission to the trench, biologists discovered a very rare ghost fish. The creature has been described as having gelatinous skin and being transparent, and it's the first of its kind to ever be seen alive. According to Bruce Mundy, a fishery biologist involved in the discovery, he was absolutely stunned by the ethereal fish, which almost looks like a small fishy angel floating through the water. The ghost fish was only seen on video and wasn't actually captured. This means biologists haven't been able to properly identify the creature as a new species. It certainly looked like something new, but there is not much scientists can do without actually getting a physical specimen. The big question is, why has the ghost fish evolved to be translucent white? Scientists say it could be the lack of light at the bottom of the ocean. Without really being able to see one another, it doesn't matter much what color a fish is. Also, because food is so scarce, animals don't typically put a lot of their energy into developing pigment patterns. Number 3. The Mariana Snailfish. The deepest fish ever discovered in the ocean has been collected from the Mariana Trench. The fish looks kind of like a tadpole, only translucent, with its organs clearly showing through its skin. The species is known as the Mariana Snailfish, and it was discovered thanks to researchers at the University of Washington. To date, it's the deepest fish ever taken from the ocean. How deep, you ask? During research missions in 2014, 36 specimens were collected from depths between 22,600 and 26,000 feet. Researchers collected the snailfish by using special bags baited with mackerel. The snailfish swam into the bag to get the mackerel, and the researchers pulled them all the way back up to the surface. The deepest sighting was actually made at 26,716 feet by a Japanese expedition in January, though that fish was never caught. From what these scientists have gathered by analyzing the specimens, snailfish have adapted to live deeper than any other fish. They thrive near the bottom of the Mariana Trench, living on a diet of small crustaceans and shrimp, which they hoover into their mouths like a vacuum. Number 2. The Fanfin Sea Devil. Nothing in the dismal depths of the Mariana Trench is quite as ghoulish, terrifying, or straight-up freakish as the Fanfin Sea Devil. It's a type of anglerfish with a bioluminescent lure that it dangles in front of its teeth that are like broken shards of glass in a shattered window pane. This is one of the most disturbing and scary fish anywhere in the world. It uses its lure to mimic living bait, which convinces unsuspecting fish to swim directly into its open mouth. At that point, the fish is basically toast. Not only are the sea devil's fangs great for ripping and tearing, they can also be used like the bars of a jail cell. Sometimes, the Fanfin Sea Devil doesn't even bother to chew. It just traps its victim inside its mouth and then swallows it, forcing the fish down into its belly. What's even more bizarre is that the anglerfish can bloat its stomach to accommodate victims much larger than itself. In all of the world's oceans, there are 168 species of deep-sea anglerfish. The Fanfin Sea Devil just so happens to be one of the ugliest, and one of the only species that lives in the deepest trench on Earth. Number 1. The Megalodon. Anyone ready for Shark Week? The Megalodon was one of the scariest animals that ever lived in the ocean. Despite being extinct, there have been numerous reports over the centuries of abnormally giant sharks terrorizing the deep. In 1918, fishermen claimed that their nets were stolen by a giant shark. In 1933, there were reports of a giant sea beast off the coast of French Polynesia. In 2018, unexplained videos were posted online with one of them allegedly showing a giant shark that could have been a megalodon prowling the Mariana Trench. In 2021, a large shark was reported circling a cruise ship that some claimed was the Megalodon. This shark was reportedly 17 feet long, not even close to how big the Megalodon could get. But these sightings have made people question, could the Megalodon really still be alive? And could it be residing in secret, deep in the Mariana Trench? The Megalodon went extinct about 2.6 million years ago. Before being wiped off the face of the Earth, they grew to be around 60 feet long with a weight of at least 100 tons. They lived in every major world ocean and feasted on great white sharks for breakfast, and probably even each other. If the Megalodon still existed now, there would most likely be a lot of proof. Sharks love to eat fish, and larger sharks love bigger, blubberous mammals like seals, sea lions, and whales. There aren't any of those living that deep under the sea, so the shark would have to come closer to the surface to eat, and they would need to eat a lot to maintain their enormous size. If they had somehow managed to survive, we would also see enormous bite marks left over in other animals, and we would continue to find their enormous teeth. There are already giant sharks today prowling through the waters. I don't think we need even bigger ones. Thanks for watching! Would you dare to dive into the Mariana Trench? Let me know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time! Bye!